Wittenberg Project. So I try to support people, you know what I'm saying, that I see online and I kind of, talk to every now and then. Shout out KDub. I ran to his channel and I saw he had something called A Response by James White to Flame, his conversion to Lutheranism. And, man, like, it's crazy the pushback that Flame is getting about this, to be honest with you. James White, he's supposed to be a scholar, supposed to be all this. And first thing he does is go on there saying that.
A couple weeks ago, some guy named Flame, and I don't know who Flame is. I don't know what his real name is. I don't. But he was one of these reformed rappers. And he came out and he's left Calvinism and embraced some kind of Lutheranism. And when I say some kind of Lutheranism, I don't know. There are a lot of different kinds of Lutheranism. Are we talking about Luther's Lutheranism? Are we talking about Luther before 1525? Are we talking about Luther after 1525? Are we talking about Philip Melanchthon? Are we blah, 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 blah.
I don't know what type of Lutheranism he converted to. Is it Martin Luther pre this date or after this date? First off, man, like, you're supposed to be a scholar. You're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not going to go into that. You're supposed to be a scholar, right? He graduated from a seminary in St. Louis, a LCMS seminary. That's the type of Lutheran, if you want to go into that route, you should judge him by. You know what I'm saying? You go on and name all these other things that have nothing to do with him. Nothing at all. Secondly, you don't judge Lutherans by, is it Martin Luther pre this date, post this date? We hold to the Book of Concord. That's what you go by. There aren't this type or that type of Lutheran. It's Lutheranism, and we confess the Book of Concord. And he knows this. So it's hard to say that this isn't just blatant misrepresentation because his disciples feel butthurt that, someone found out that the teaching isn't accurate to Scripture. But they go this route instead. Like, for instance, when someone says they're Calvinist, we don't say, are you a Westboro Calvinist? Are you the Calvinist that goes out and pickets people's funerals? Are you that type of Calvinist? Are you the Calvinist like that supports slavery? We don't go that route. We accept them for that. Like, okay, you're a Calvinist. You hold to this. It's just trash. It's 100% trash that people are taking this route to attack the brother. Period. And don't get me wrong, I'm not watching his full show, Mr. James White. I'm not watching it. You know what I'm saying? But the clip I did watch, then he goes into a tweet that Flame did.
But not really. I don't know. It's a mystery. I don't get it. Anyway, my response to the tweet was, this logic, of course, leads inevitably to universalism and has many times in various groups since the Reformation.
And says that pretty much this leads to universalism. It's like you haven't even cared to research or truly try to grasp what you're talking about. So you go online with your thousands of minions, your whole disciples, and you just spew this stuff. It's like me saying, oh, you're a Calvinist, so you believe God decreed and is detailedly in charge of everything. So even evil that happens. So when a girl gets raped or murdered, the murderer is just following God's will. He's just following what was decreed for him to do. You're making God the author of evil. Time out. I know I'm going to get pushback from Calvinists because they don't like that. They'll go back and they'll say no, and they'll explain the nuance of their belief and things of that nature, right? And if I agree or disagree, I still respect that they hold that no matter what or how I feel about how their logical system is set up, they're saying God is not the author of evil. But you don't even give us that respect to where you're just going to run with it leads to universalism because we say Jesus died for everybody. Something that the historic church has always held to. You just jump to that conclusion, basically just bearing false witness on Lutheranism, and Flame. I mean, like I said, you would not, Calvinism as a whole would not, even KDub, you would not accept someone saying you make God the author of evil. That Hitler was just following God's decree. You guys would have a fit. No, it's not what we hold. Go read the institutes, go read the confessions and this and that nature, and you will explain it. And out of respect for you as a Christian brother, I might disagree, but I'll say, okay, but they don't confess that this is this. There's no respect. There's no respect from this aisle or this side of the fence. So it's hard to show respect back. I mean, honest with you, you know? And to my Presbyterian Reformed brothers, y'all let these guys call themselves Calvinists, so when we bash them, you guys get lumped into it also. It is what it is. It's 100% not true that the viewpoint that Jesus Christ dies for the sins of the world, which is actual scripture, actual passage. We just don't try to use our logic over scripture to justify it and say, actually, he doesn't mean the world. We don't do that. We let scripture stand. Kind of something that Christians should do. You know? And like I said, I don't want to bash KDub because he kind of misrepresented one of Flame's tweets, you know what I'm saying? Or one of his sayings in regards to the album. And we talk back and forth, you know, respectfully. So I don't want to make it sound I'm going at him. But on his channel, he posted this excerpt as if it's a valid or logical or respectable opinion by Mr. James White. You know? I know some call him doctor, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Flame went to an accredited university for his master's. To get the doctorate degree, you should go to an accredited university. I'm not sure we can say that. Shout out Dr. Anthony Bradley. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, for respect, if you want to critique someone's doctrinal stance, you should learn that doctrine. Saying, I'm not sure what type of Lutheran he is it Martin Luther this or Martin Luther that, when that's not even a standard by which you judge somebody in our tradition. You go by what our confession is. And let me tell you a secret. Martin Luther didn't write majority of the Book of Concord. He didn't even write the ones that we hold as, let's say, the meat and potatoes, the Augsburg Confession, the Formula of Concord. The Large Catechism he did write. That thing's beautiful. Beautiful. I definitely recommend you watch it. But, back on point, you go by that. That's the belief if someone says they're Lutheranism you hold. You know, like when someone says they're Calvinist, I don't say, are you John Edwards Calvinist? The one who owned slaves? You know what I'm saying? And even though he was convicted by Spurgeon, all these other guys saying that's wrong, stayed in his ways. We don't start picking people to judge you by. We judge you by your confession. It's just trash, man. This bearing false witness has to stop. You know? It has to stop. And if anyone's interested in learning more about it, I mean, there's plenty of resources you can find. You can go to Dr. Jordan Cooper, Justin Sinner's his YouTube channel. A lot of resources. You go to 1517, a lot of resources. Pastor Jonathan Fisk, Pastor Brian Wolfmiller. It's a lot of resources. Pastor Ask the Pastor, that YouTube channel. None of them will say, oh, I'm a Lutheran per Luther in 1534. That's for someone who's supposed to be a scholar. Like, he's highly respected by a lot of people for some strange reason. You know? Anyhow, I just listened to it and wanted to comment on it, you know what I'm saying? Because it was trash. Utter trash. Like, I definitely don't recommend, you know, anyone use that type of... It's funny, he shows more respect to Muslims and Mormons than he does other denominations of Christians. Yo, like, does that make sense to you? Anyhow, man, Wittenberg Project. Like, comment, subscribe.